basketball analysis with over 70 years combined experience. This is the Bob Ryan and Jeff Goodman podcast. NBA.
Bob Ryan, Gary Tanguay pod here on CLNS Media, brought to you by Prize Picks, the exclusive daily fantasy partner of CLNS Media Network. Pick more, pick less with Prize Picks. Bob is coming to us from the friendly confines of Western Maine and good old Weld Lake. So we could tell that is not his usual background of his home library, if you will. All right, Bob, let's get to it. We're going to talk about the Washington Wizards and focus on them. What was the word you used? Are they the poster child for mediocrity?
Yes, but I've even figured it out. It's even worse than that. By saying they're mediocre, that gives mediocre the benefit of the doubt. They're horrible. And it's been going on, and here's how badly it is. If you were born in 1994, so you're either 29 or 30, depending on your birth date as we speak. If you were born in 1994, here is the situation. I can't imagine how you could be an NBA fan with the team that you've been stuck with as a rule. It is relentless. And I got to back up before I get into it. Starting in 1968-69, the Bullets embarked on a decade of true excellence. And they, let's see, I got my stuff here. Yeah. They were in the decade of the 70s, starting with 68. They won one title and got to the finals 3 times. Other times, 4 times in the final, from 68-69 until 78-79. Okay, they were good. This is the team, and that was a fun team, the Baltimore Bullets of Wes Unseld, Elvin Hayes. Oh no, that was later. Wes Unseld, Jack Marin, because he was traded for Elvin Hayes. Jack Marin, Kevin Lockery, Earl Monroe, etc., etc. Gus Johnson.
When did Kevin Greavy come into play?
That's later, after late in the decade, because he was a Kentucky team of 78.
Okay.
So, okay. Gus Johnson, never forget what a ahead of his time player, 6'6" power forward Gus Johnson was, a leaping man, a tremendous guy. And he had those great battles with Dave DeBusschere. Okay, so if you go back and if you're in your 60s or 70s, you finally remember the great Bullets of the decade of the 70s, culminating in winning the championship in 78, okay, with Elvin Hayes. All right. But if you're 30 years old, here are some of the sad facts of your Bullets existence. You've been in the playoffs 10 times in 30 years. Okay? 10 times. During which time your record is 30-42. And this is after a period of time with your father and your Uncle Ed and your grandfather. They were in the playoffs 12 straight years. Okay. But it's worse than that. In the decade, all the years since they last won it and went to the final in 79, they have had no 50-win seasons whatsoever. Only 8 40-win seasons in 40 years. And, ready for this, 20s or less 13 times, including this year when they won 15 games. And they are relentless. And the thing about it that is so frustrating, and everybody who follows the league knows this, that if you're going to be bad, be bad. Be bad. Bad, like they are this year. They still couldn't get the number 1 pick, but they did get the number 2 pick.
Right.
Alex Sarr. We'll see how good he is. But the Wizards, someone wrote this once upon a time. I don't know who could get it credit. The Wizards have been a mediocre team for half a human lifetime and have rarely even been bad enough to get a top pick. This is true. So This is where you're stuck. Ultimate, complete, relentless mediocrity. You can't dig out the way other teams in sports have done, including the Rockets, who are digging out now. And we know the teams have done this. It's just so sad. So I applaud anybody in that area who was a fan of the NBA, because you've been stuck. Now, there was a little moderate success in the last decade, but it didn't last long.
Well,
It didn't last long.
Look, they had some problem. Remember Gilbert Arenas?
Oh, yes, 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 yes.
He was a very good player, Agent Zero, but then next thing you know, he's got guns in the locker room.
Right, exactly. There's always something.
It's always something.
You're right.
And
There's always something. So I really applaud anybody who's a fan of that franchise. But it's been kind of you realize that this team is in its sixth different identity since it came into the league in 1961.
that I did not know.
This team was hatched as an expansion team, and if I'm not mistaken, I should have looked it up better. This was the first expansion when the league went from 8 teams to 9.
Okay.
But they were the Chicago Packers.
Really?
After 1 year, yes. I don't know whether there was pressure from a certain city in Wisconsin or what, but they changed their nickname after 1 year to the Chicago Zephyrs.
That I remember.
And then they moved to Baltimore, where they were hatched as the Bullets. And they were, in 1 year, I don't know if you remember this, Garrett, 73, 74, they were the Capitol Bullets.
Yes, I do remember that because they moved to Landover, Maryland. Right?
Correct. That's exactly right. Exactly right. And then, when they went from Baltimore, the Civic Arena, which I remember, and then they became the Washington Bullets finally when they,
right.
And now they were pressured by society to change that nickname.
Correct.
And they became the Wizards. Okay. So that's the sad tale.
Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. They've got over 5 million active members. Look, it is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Now, unlike all the other apps, Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers. That's it. Now, you can win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. And 1 Caleb Williams passing yard gets you 1 win on Prize Picks every week in September. That's right. Only 1 yard gets you an automatic win every football weekend in September. 4 weeks of free W's. Don't miss this deal on Prize Picks because it's gone when September ends. Now, here's an example of a player projection lineup. You could be going Tyreek Hill for more than 90 receiving yards or Dak Prescott for more than 263 passing yards. On the other end, Josh Allen for less than 240 passing yards and CeeDee Lamb for more than 96 receiving yards. You like those picks? So download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code CLNS on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks. Run your game.
So let's look at the roster. What do you think their chances are of any kind of significant improvement? The core of their roster, you ready? Jordan Poole, Kyle Kuzma, Jonas Valanciunas. Did you know they picked up Malcolm Brogdon?
I did not know.
Well, that's where he is. Corey Kispert, Sadiq Bey, who's I kind of like, Marvin Bagley III, who's been a flop in his time. And they had the number 2 pick this year in the draft, Alex Sarr of France. And a new coach who I know nothing about other than the fact he's got a OKC pedigree, and that is Brian Keefe. So we'll see what he can do. But among the people who mismanaged that franchise over the years was some guy named Michael Jordan, if you recall.
I do. Yes, that did not help them.
No, it didn't help. And as someone pointed out, he didn't help him by playing either, by taking up a spot when he was. He did average 20.
Go ahead.
He did average 20 points a game on the way out, which the only other person I know did that was someone else we're going to talk about today in Jerry West. But anyway, but he mismanaged the franchise as he's mismanaged the Hornets. He's driven them into the ground, and his expertise does not extend beyond his playing. That's for sure. So anyway, that's the sad tale of the. Now I don't say this. I feel badly for the fans. No set of fandom deserves this. They're going, especially people who have been relentlessly loyal. But that's the story. They're not even bad enough to be mediocre. They're awful.
They're not
even good enough.
They're not bad enough. They're not good enough, and they're not bad enough. But that could change. You mentioned the Jordan thing, though. didn't he play because ownership wanted him to play, or the other owners
Sure.
begged him to play?
Yeah, they wanted that. Like Michael, and then like Michael was a drive. Everywhere they went, the building was still sold out on the road.
Right,
No
right,
question.
right.
No question. I remember Doug Collins was coaching, and he was very defensive about Michael's play. You
Right.
know, and yeah, he was not happy when certain kind of questions he did not like. I remember, and he's a good guy. I liked him very much, but boy, that was tough. That was tough for him when he had to deal with the Michael Jordan situation and pretend that he liked it. He couldn't have liked it.
Right, because it wasn't there. It was there for commerce purposes. But also, they never tanked all the way. I mentioned Gilbert Arenas. Then they had Bradley Beal. And then, of course, they had Jordan. But they always had one player that would be considered a franchise player. Now, I don't know if Beal's a franchise player, but he's a very good player.
Level player. I'm very judicious with the use of that word franchise in any sport.
Right.
But Beal was an all-star level player. They had some all-star level players,
right.
but not enough of them at the same time. That's for sure.
Right, but when you have an all-star player, that keeps you out of the lottery.
But I just, yeah.
So they have to tank. They got to tank, Bob. It's Tankapalooza in D.C. That's what you got to do. They did it, and they got to do it.
I'm going to repeat one more time. If you were, so people, maybe somebody just tuned in. If you were born in 1994 and that's your team, they have won in the 20s or less. They've done that twice, 13 times in your lifetime. They have won fewer than 30 games.
Right.
You deserve whoever you are.
Well, I think the whole region deserves better. I know that they've had Stanley Cup success, but the Redskins have been Commanders. Excuse me, Commanders. They changed the name.
Oh, the Redskins leading to the Commanders. Yeah, I mean they were once the epitome of excellence, as we know.
Oh,
you and I remember.
I mean, yeah.
George Allen and all that, and the futures now, and many years. But of course, now that they've been woeful for. Again, you're right. They deserve better.
I mean, Baltimore had Earl Weaver in that group. The Wizards were always, I mean, as you mentioned, the Wizards, when they were the Bullets with Elvin Hayes and Wes Unseld, I mean, they went to the finals once, went to the finals twice, right? Like 75 and 79, and they lost, and they won in 79. The Orioles were always in it. Orioles were always in it. The Redskins,
Orioles had some great ones.
In it. That area's getting killed.
Yep. Well, they did sneak the Nationals snuck one in a few years ago, but that's
right.
That's memory speaking quickly too. By the way, of course, we're letting Juan Soto go. Was their equivalent of Mookie. Us letting Mookie go.
Right.
So there you
go.
All right,
Bob. What feelings do you have on expansion or the discussion of?
I think that. I understand that there's a couple of markets that would like a team, presumably Seattle, which got screwed, one of the two worst screwings in NBA history, the other being Buffalo.
Right.
And who else are they talking about? Louisville, maybe, because they were pillars of the ABA. Didn't get to come in.
I can't see Louisville doing that. They don't have.
I just, we got enough teams. The scheduling is a mess always. They can never decide how they want to schedule, And you want a balanced schedule, you want an unbalanced schedule, you want, I don't know. And that's enough. I can't imagine that and is the talent worthy of it? I guess, but not really.
Is it? I mean, the only way you could justify the talent is because of the European invasion.
Thank you. You snatched the words out of my mouth. You grabbed them out of my mouth. You whistled them out of my mouth. I was going to say that, Gary. Great minds, as they say. Yes. Thank God. For Europe, it's just like in baseball. Can you imagine baseball without people whose first language is Spanish?
Oh my God!
Major leagues would be unrecognized.
Yeah.
Well, that's another topic for another day. But anyway, yes, Europe. Thank God for Europe. And no, we're on a run now. Was it 5 years in a row now? The MVP is now it's the same three people, but the best players in the league now are arguably European, which speaks well to the.
The problem is with the league is kids the Jason Tatums of the world are coming in at 19.
Yes.
I just don't think that it's fair, unless you're LeBron James, to expect a lot of a 19-year-old to come when they come in the league.
Depending on how it works on the other end with legislation, etc., due to the NIL vast transformation of the nature of college sports in America, there's now much more incentive for someone to stay in certain circumstances than to come out. You're going to get paid.
Yeah.
It will help your development if you've got a good, the right coach. Not all the coaches are equal, God knows, but there are some wonderful coaches in college who can help people develop into professional players. Yeah, but we don't know how that's all going to shake out either, because that, if there's anything in its training, in its formative stage, and as we're playing trial and error, how this is going to work out, it's the NIL thing. Believe me, combined with the transfer portal. But the NIL, we got a huge lawsuit. I don't know how many there are. People, going after them now to get back pay that they thought they were just deprived of. We'll see how the money holds up and how it's going to work and everything. We have no idea. But this has had a direct effect could have a direct effect on how many kids come out when. And we might get at least instead of 19-year-olds, we might start getting some 21-year-olds at least. So we'll see.
Which is a good thing.
Yes.
I've had the chance to see the Patriots win the big game 5 times. There's nothing like it. There's nothing like being there live, right? And Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite team play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. When you go to the Game Time app, look for the super deal. But you got to go to the app. You got to look for it. Check out the super deal. You won't regret it. With the Game Time app, curated deals make it easier to find the best price on great seats. Don't forget, look for the super deal. See views before you buy. You check out the view before you buy it. How's better? That's nothing better than that. It's like test driving the ticket. Curation makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and a whole lot more. Toggling this feature shows the total up front with no surprise fees at checkout. And as I mentioned, you get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy it. Take the guesswork out of buying concert tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, you mentioned Jerry West. The Lakers are going to have number 44 on their uniform this year, and we know that you are a fan of Mr. West and his legacy.
I am. He was a class act on and off the court. The one guy that Johnny Most couldn't say a bad word about, gentleman Jerry. And instead of he quelled out of a sore, his teammate Kurt Rambis, Jerry West was class personified. Absolutely wonderful player, along with Oscar Robertson. They just dominated in the 60s. They were the big all-star backcourt every single year, literally. And West was, you can't say enough good things about Jerry West. And then no one has had a more star-spangled career moving from playing ranks to the executive ranks. His coaching, Mets, but there may have been mitigating circumstances, okay? His coaching doesn't, but his executive decisions were wonderful. And and plus, not to mention, he's, hired Pat Rile. He was just Mr. Basketball. He was
the logo.
Mr. Basketball.
The logo, Bob. The logo.
He's the logo. Thank you. I knew I was going to spit it out. Can't say enough good things about Jerry West. And by the way, they're honoring Jerry West after, as in part, I think, as out of the embarrassment caused by Jeannie Buss, who named her top 5 Lakers of all time and didn't name Jerry West.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I don't know if you knew that.
I don't know.
Oh yeah, Friday last spring. That she came up with a list of the top 5 Lakers and it didn't include Jerry West. So they're almost shamed into this now. But it's nice. It's really good. And everybody who wears that uniform should be proud to have Jerry West's number on it.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm just thinking she's probably went Kobe, Shaq, LeBron, Wilt, and Elgin. No disrespect to Elgin.
She included Phil Jackson as opposed to a player.
Oh, forget
as
that.
That's
That's ridiculous. Well, she dated him, for God's sake, so. Right?
Yeah, well,
yeah, I mean, they.
Yeah. So
But
that got some. It did get attention out there. I can tell you that. So
I'm sure.
Anyway, this is a nice thing.
Well, I'm glad you brought up the front office capability. The roster that he had, I remember as coach. I mean, it just wasn't the type of roster that he developed later on. But the fact that he thought Pat Rile would make a good coach goes underrated, undertold, because Pat Rile was a guy who had he was at the end of the bench, right? NBA career. He was a bench guy, really. And then he was a broadcaster. He was looking for something to do. They put him in the booth with Chick. And Jerry, I don't know what he saw in him, but he thought he was the right guy. I mean, without Jerry West, the Pat Rile, the hair slicked back, the suits, the Knicks, the Miami Heat, doesn't happen.
No, you're right. It doesn't happen. And you're actually right. Well, the Lakers in that period of time were an ideal functioning sports organization. The owner owned, the GM GM'd, and the coach coached. And the players played, and they didn't get confusion on any of the roles.
Right.
Anywhere along the way. Dr. Jerry Buss let Jerry do his job, and Jerry let Pat do his job. Now, in the end, there was friction between the two, apparently.
No,
okay? Eventually there was. But for a period of time, when they were so successful, winning 5 times, that's how they worked. They worked so well in that regard. By the way, I must tell you an anecdote. I'm sorry about Pat Rile. So it's 1976, and it's the NBA Finals, Celtics and the Suns. And as I have told before, I was having a little bit of a dispute, if you will, with Tommy Heinsohn, and I decided I would stay at Paul Westphal's house when I went to Phoenix rather than a hotel or travel with them or anything else. And Paul had a pool, and it being the 3-hour difference, and it is 3 hours because they don't go daylight in Phoenix, even though it's 2 hours now. We're back at the pool at 2:00 in the afternoon. I'm done writing because I had a deadline which was 5:00. So I'm not done.
Right.
And we're at the pool. Alvin Adams lived down the street, and someone else would come over, and another guy would come over. He was the 13th man on the roster that year. He was the guy left off for the playoffs, Pat Rile.
Right.
So he was the afterthought on that 76. Now, the 71-72 Lakers, great team, one of the great handful of great teams in NBA history. The 33 straight win team that won the championship. He was Peyton Pritchard on that team.
Got it.
Not the same game. He had a significant substitute role. He and John Q. Trapp. Okay, so they were but at no point in his career was he more than that. But he's revered in Kentucky, rightfully so.
Right.
College player. It was 6'3", jump center, and played way over his size, and was a tough competitor and all that. It's a wonderful college player. But anyway, but he was the 13th man on the 12-man Phoenix Suns roster in '76, hanging out at Paul Westphal's pool.
Did you have any idea he would be a good coach?
No, I didn't know him that well at the time. I knew he was. I thought I would say he was bright, but the level that he showed, you can't project. If anybody can identify people like that, what a hiring firm addition you'd be.
Well,
I don't think anybody could dream. I don't think anybody could dream that. But boy, he was ready. Slogans. And great descriptions and just.
He obviously had great players. See, this is where West. Oh. This is where West needs to get the credit. I mean, I don't know. Did Jerry trade for Jabbar?
That was no. Oh no. I'm trying to think who the GM was, but Kareem forced his way, basically pouted his way out of Milwaukee.
He wanted out of Milwaukee. So Kareem goes to LA, but
yeah,
Jerry drafted Magic, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And yeah. Oh yeah. No, Worthy. The big one is Worthy, because there were 3 guys that were in the same category in people's minds in that draft that year: Terry Cummings and Dominique Wilkins. Now, Dominique Wilkins was certainly a tough guy to pass over, but he took Worthy when he had an option.
Right.
Had that better, so we don't know how Wilkins would have worked out with them, but I think Worthy turned out to be a much safer pick for them.
Yeah, he was the perfect guy for that team. Yeah.
And that's the big one of all that he gets credit for, I think. Also, he signed McAdoo when McAdoo was now done, and he gave and he gave him extended life, and that was an important part of those teams too.
Well, there you have it. Bob Ryan from the shores of Weld Lake, from Webb Lake in Weld, Maine. Webb Lake, yes. Webb Lake. Anyways, brought to you by Prize Picks, the exclusive daily fantasy partner of CLNS Media Network. Pick more, pick less with Prize Picks. All right, Bob, talk to you soon.
Okay, Gary.